how the where does coffee come from, and is the history of the coffee is based on myths and legend, or is based on fact and about the really documented history. Actually, to discuss about the coffee, there are really very important notes we need to talk about. First, the name of the coffee, and in the Arabic language, the coffee used as the name of the wine before we discovered the coffee as a beverage. That's in the old literature of Arabic books. You will find the name of the coffee, and you can have people talk about the coffee in poetry, and they spoke about the coffee. They mean the wine, not the coffee what we drink as a drink, which we almost discovered at the start beverage on, I think, 15th century. And the second thing is the bun or bunna. When we say coffee in Arabic, we say qahwa, and they say qahwa bunniya, or the bun. The bunna as well is used in Arabic language before we discovered the coffee, the name of food, and this is kind of like snacks they used to eat it. That's why there are confusion when the old physician, very well known in Arabic, Ibn Sina, when he write about his Al-Qanun fi al-Tibb, he talk about the coffee, but they means the wine, not the beverage we drink it. And even when they talk about the bun, they talk about the food was used before the coffee discovered. When we go back to the history, and when we study all the books, or when the people start using the coffee, we find very clear that before 1400, exactly 14, end of 14, start of 1500, there were no coffee as a beverage, as a drink in the world. And there was a coffee tree. Nobody knows when the coffee tree was on the wild or in the frost. But what we know exactly that on end of 1400 or the beginning of 1400, there are saint, or we call Sheikh Ali bin Umar al-Shadili. He was living in Habasha, what we know as Abyssinia, at the other time in 1400, and was right now known as Ethiopia. Sheikh Ali was like a saint, and he was have followers as a monks, and he was living in Ethiopia for maybe 10 or 20 years, and he was very close from the Sultan Sa'd al-Din, who was the ruler of the Abyssinia, and he married to his sister. Then when he was living there, he discovered the coffee tree, and he started to consume the coffee as a chip. And then when he come back to Yemen, he based on Al-Mukha, which we know as Mocha, but Al-Mukha is the port or the city, the small village where Ali ibn Umar Shadli was based there and was living there, and was have his follower and have his all his masjid, and all the people they come and they try to learn from him. Ali ibn Umar al-Shadli, he brings the coffee from Abyssinia, from Habasha, as a coffee seeds with him. Then when the coffee dried, as normal, they plant the coffee in Yemen. The first plantation was in Yemen, in the area they called Ta'az. And at the time, in this 1400 almost, there was no Yemen or Saudi or this border because it was like Arabic Peninsula, which is contained right now the Saudi, Yemen, Emirates, Oman, Bahrain, all this is called Arabic Peninsula. When they bring the coffee, they planted the southwest of Arab Peninsula, which is part of Saudi Arabia and right now part of Yemen. And the area in Saudi Arabia called Jizan, Asir, and Baha, where the coffee already grown right now. And in Yemen, the area called Khawlan or Ta'az, where the coffee right now is grown in the same area. And if we go I think from Sheikh Ali bin Umar Shadli died 1424, and that's mean before 1424 was at least about 40-50 years the coffee already discovered and already as a beverage, as a drink, as a coffee, they prepare it for their followers. And after that, the coffee starts spread from Yemen to Mecca, Saudi Arabia, and then from Mecca, Saudi Arabia, they going to Egypt, and from Egypt also spread to Damascus, and from Damascus to Istanbul. The first documented letter was written in Mecca in 1511 AD, which is about 923 Hijri, was this documented letter was described the coffee was already people they drink the coffee around the holy Mecca, and is this coffee is legal or illegal, is haram or halal, as we can drink it or we can't drink it. This is really open eyes about big debate in Arabic literature about is it halal or is it haram. Then the coffee was, when we say it started 1424, from 1424 to 1511, the coffee was consumed and drank in Yemen, in parts of Arabic Peninsula, even in Saudi Arabia, where Mecca, even in Egypt, but without any debate. Until I think the end of Mamluk era and before Ottomanic Empire, this is like 10 or 15 years, the period where the people make this big debate. And the was in the Mecca, because it's the holy place. The way the people they drink the coffee, they get like impression for the people who pass by, like people who drink alcohol. Then the ruler of Mecca did try to use his forest and his power and to say this drink is illegal. But there are a lot of people, they really say this is not correct, and the coffee as a drink is not, there's not like a wine, because the name is like very close. And then they sent letter to Egypt, was the capital of all this area. And in Egypt was, I think, in 1511, Francois Al-Mouri, he's the ruler of the area. And then come back to with the letter, this is a coffee as a drink is not prohibited or not illegal and it's not haram. But the way you drink the coffee, if you make it like alcohol, that means will become really like haram. Then the people start moving the forward, and the coffee start become more popular, get popularity. And then 1502 they started in Cairo. Then after that we find by historian they call Abdul Qadir al-Jaziri. He write a book about how the coffee discovered by Mr. Ali bin Umar al-Shadli. And there are a lot of people who was living in the same area. They describe that Ali bin Umar al-Shadli, he's the guy who brings the coffee from Yemen, from Abyssinia, Habasha, and he invented the coffee as a drink. Then Ibn Tulun, he is the historian, Syrian, or let us say, historian who living in Damascus at the time, was there are no Syria in Damascus. He write the first, when the first cup of coffee consumed in Damascus, and he write that in 1535 almost, the coffee start consumed in Damascus. And after that, in 1555, Haji Khalifa, who's the Ottoman historian, they like the first coffee shop opened in Istanbul, and it was opened by Syrian people, two peoples, one come from Aleppo, one come from Damascus, and they opened two coffee shops in Istanbul in 1555 almost, and it's become more popular. And then from Istanbul to Balkanic area, moved to like closely to Bulgaria, to Greece, to all other part of the Europe world. And there are one important things happened. I think after the coffee already become more popular in Arabic Peninsula and Istanbul and all these areas. In 1573, there are a traveler come from Holland. His called is Ralph Lionheart. He visited Aleppo, then he visited Iraq, then he visited Palestine, and visited Istanbul. And he, in 1573, he write in his book that there are in Aleppo there are a drink they call coffee, and they drink this every day. And he described the drink, and he described that how is very interesting. And it was not. They don't know this drink in Europe. This is in 1573 by Leon Wolfhard, and he's already documented in the. And in 1580, there are very famous Italian botanists come from Rome to Egypt, and he living in Egypt, and he write a book about the coffee trees and the coffee drink, and he described the coffee. His name Prospero Alembi, and he write the book is famous in the library, and he described the coffee as a drink in 1580. From this time, 1580, 1560, the European they start know more about the coffee and about this drink. And as we say, that from 14 to 1600, the coffee only consumed and prepared in Arabic Peninsula and the what we call right now Saudi and Yemen. And in 1660, the coffee traveled, or the Dutch people, they come to Yemen, and they take coffee from Mocha, from Al-Mukha, where the Saint Ali city, birthplace, to Amsterdam. They try to plant it in botanical garden, and they try to distribute this tree all over Europe. But you know the weather in Europe, because the coffee need to be within the coffee belt, they can't grow up there. And 1658, the Dutch as well, they take coffee from Yemen and plant it in Ceylon. I think the most important thing in Baba Bhutan in 1665, while he is traveling from India to Mecca, when he go back from Mecca to India through Yemen, they take some coffee seed with him, and he planted in India. And the first planted coffee was outside the Arabic Peninsula in India. Then the Dutch, they take from also India, try to plant it in Java, 1696, and then the first coffee, I think the first coffee farm was owned by Dutch in Ceylon, in Java between 17 and 1750. The 1706 to 1730 coffee taken from Java to Amsterdam again, and the very important point in the history, I think, when the coffee taken from Amsterdam to King Louis XIV. He was the king of France, and they gave him as a gift in 1714. Then the France take the coffee from France, from Europe to Martinique or to West Indies, and this was in 1720 to 1723. I think the Gabriel Di Matteo, the soldier who was the head of the mission to take the coffee from France to Martinique. And the first coffee was planted in the Martinique and West Indies in 1723. By 1777, the number of coffee trees was in the Martinique about 18 million trees. The documented history of plantation around the world, with Suriname 1780, Jamaica 1730, Brazil 1755, Guatemala 1760, Costa Rica 1780, Mexico 1790. Before these dates, there were no coffee in the world. Only the coffee was from 1400 up to 16 or 1700 planted and consumed and harvested in Arabic Peninsula, mainly in Yemen and in what we know right now, Saudi. And by genetic code, when they make a DNA study, they find all the coffee within the coffee belt in all the world, all the coffee roots come back to Yemen. And all the coffee, we call the variety of the coffee, come to typical variety or bourbon. There are two mothers variety for all the coffee spread all around the world. All the coffee around the world, the DNA roots coming back to Yemen, and from Yemen, when they make a study, they say this coffee, as a tree is come from Abyssinia or from what we know right now as Habasha. Where the Arabica name come from? The father of taxonomy, Carl Linné, who was born 1707 and 1787, when he put the classification for the kingdom planet and to make a classification for the coffee, they put like different level of classification. The kingdom is a Plantaea, then the division, then the class. The class is Angiosperma, which is the flowering plant. Then go down to order the family Rubicaea, where this is the all the coffee species in the world from this family. Then go back to genus, which is Coffea. Then the species, they use two names, the genus and the variety. The species, Coffea arabica. And the variety below the species is like Coffea arabica, variety typica. At the time when he made the taxonomy, there were no coffee trees on the world, only in Arabic Peninsula. When he described the Coffea arabica, what he said Arabic jasmine with laurel leaves, the beans of which we call coffee. That means the Arabica name is come 1707, between 1707 and 1788 by Carl Linné, and he described the variety of the typica and the species is Arabica and get the name is Arabica. And at this time, there were no Robusta in all over the world. When Robusta or Canephora tree discovered, Louis Pasteur in 1897 is botanical and he was visited Gabon and he discovered the Canephora, and after 1897, that's been in almost 20th century, the second species discovered in Gabon and then taken from Gabon to Tanzania, Uganda, and as well to Vietnam. From 17 to 19, there are 200 years. At all this time, there were only one species in the world which called Arabica. And this species is come from the coffee as the coffee plant. After that, I think after the coffee become endangered and they try to study how many species there are in the world, Kew Garden, they make a lot of study and about the try to find how many coffee species there are in the world. They discover about 124 or 125 right now documented species in the world. And from these 125, 126 species, there are only 4 species where we can consume. 2 species, they make all the coffee around the world, the Arabica and the Robusta. And right now there are a lot of, maybe about 1% of the coffee consumed in the world from Liberta, Excelsa, the species Liberta, and there are some study about Eugenidis right now, these species. That means all the coffee, all the coffee trees around the world, mainly for more than 200 or 300 years, was just the Arabica, the coffee which already come from in the beginning from Abyssinia, and then the started from Arabic Peninsula and then it traveled all around the world. When the coffee start moving from or when we can say when the first coffee shop or the coffee become popular in Europe. If we go back to the documented history, we can say the first place the coffee consumed in Europe was in Italy. And I think in 1645 by Venetian people, because they have very good relation with the Dutch people, and they opened the first coffee shop in Venetia and in Roma. What really the funny thing, and I think the Pope Clement VIII, between 1555 and 1605, he say this coffee drink is prohibited and is illegal, and it was not allowed for Christian people to drink the coffee in Europe. This is Clement VIII. And then the people, they come back to him, they say this is really nice drink and we can't really, we don't know why you, but then he say it's allowed. I think this is between 1555 and 1605, and this is that's why the coffee was not very popular in the beginning in Europe. After Italy, the coffee became famous in France. The French people, they say the coffee in 1669, the Salman or Suleiman Agha was the ambassador of Ottoman Empire during the Murad al-Rabi, and he was visited Paris, and he was bring coffee with him, and he teach the nobles and teach the people how to drink the coffee, and the coffee become popular. The first coffee shop opened in England, in Inglaterra, they say at the time, was in 1652. Pasqua di Rossi was the opened the coffee in London until 1652. And if you see the history between 1652 or 1645 and 1424, when the Saint Ali died, there are 200-300 years was the coffee originally consumed and drink just in the Arabic. Thank you very much for listening, and really my pleasure. If you have any questions or if you like to talk about.
What are some of the questions that are still unanswered about this history?
Can you ask it again?
Yeah, sure. What are the questions that are still unanswered from the perspective of historians about this history of coffee today? What are the open questions today?
I can't get you what the question was not answered by the historian from my
Yeah.
point of view as a historian.
Yes.
I think the most important question is that when we talk about the coffee, the people refer the coffee for the Kaldi or Khaldi legend, and they really ignore all this documented history about the guy who lived in Abyssinia and he bring coffee to Yemen and he prepared the coffee. And there are documented history how the people start roasting the coffee at the 1500, how they add cardamom to the coffee, how to add the sugar to coffee, and there are documented history in almost 1650, 1680, they consume the coffee as a cold drink. They add ice to the coffee. And there are documented history about the people in 16 or 1580, they drink the coffee with the milk. And all these additive to the coffee already documented in the history. They add the sugar or add the milk or add the cardamom or add the cloves sometimes or mastica, or even they drink the coffee as iced coffee. When we try to know more about the coffee recently, we just find the mystery or about the myth that the coffee started by goat and the dancing goat and this as well, but which is really not correct. The coffee exactly almost in beginning of 15th century, the coffees become really as a beverage, as a drink, and become famous in all around the world. Start from Yemen, then to Mecca, then to Damascus, Cairo, Istanbul, Serbia, Belgrade, Greece, Balkanic area, and there are a lot of travelers when they come visit Ottoman Empire during the 15th, 16th, they write about the coffee and the coffee house. They find it in Belgrade and many European countries right now, which was before under Ottoman Empire. Yes. تفضل اذا بدك تحكي بالعربي كمان ما في مشكله.
اشجار القهوه يعني
اشجار القهوه هل هي كانت اصلا موجوده قبل ما يكتشفون ان هي قهوه وبافرج
كشجره قهوه؟
كشجره قهوه موجوده في العالم؟
اكيد كانت موجوده، ولكن كانت موجوده في غابات حرجيه وما كانت مزروعه من قبل الانسان. النقله الرئيسيه اللي صارت لما الشيخ عمر علي بن عمر الشاذلي كان موجود في اثيوبيا، اخذ الحبوب تبع القهوه وزرعها كشجره وصارت كالتيفير، يعني شجره يعتنى فيها من قبل الانسان، مزروعه ولها موسم حصاد وتنباع as a commercial. As a wild tree, already all the history was like, so frost, the ghabar. It's already there, but nobody knows when this coffee was there. But who discovered the coffee as a beverage and he make it as a drink? This is our point. But I think there are in the history, they said Oromo or in Abyssinia, the people, they eat it as a fruit, because the cherry of coffee is very sweet when it's ripe, and they have really caffeine, and they have the impact of give you the stimulation and wake you up when you eat it. And at the beginning, the people, they eat the coffee as a fruit, like cherry, like berry, like anything. But who make the coffee as a drink, as a black coffee, as a roasted coffee? This is the big really change. And they moved the coffee from wild tree to the beverage and a humanitarian tree and become very popular. And right now, I think the trade of the coffee in the world in 2018 was $172 billion. I think now costs more than $200 billion, the volume of the coffee trade around the world.
شكرا.
أهلا وسهلا. Good. Any question? Thank you very much. Thank you for listening and shukran. See you again. Thank you.